Okay, we're at it's a utility disc sander in the shop. The table is set to 90 degrees, and we can't count on that being in exact alignment with the internals of the shank, however, so we've got to do this all by hand as best we can. Now you can lop it off. The vast majority of the material can be removed, as I've done here. Is however you want to do it. You could saw it. I just pushed it into a rough grinder on a different station, just jammed it. This, however, is too smooth to do that. It would burn before you'd get much of that off of there. So what we're going to do, and the reason I'm actually making a separate tape of this or video, is it's not quite what most people guess, in the sense that you try to get it dead on as you push it forward, and that's really not it. The trick to this, or at least a way that I've found that works, is to go in at an angle, specifically this angle. Now this is massively exaggerated, but so you know what I'm talking about. Lift it so that you're going to get a bad angle if you continue to remove much material, but go just to the line. And then when you get a second pass, so to speak, you work exactly up to that point. Now, when you've got tape on here, it's not quite as handy as it is, that technique, as when you're doing stuff blind, but it's worth mentioning at this point, and I'll be doing it that way anyhow. So I can't speak over the machine noise when I switch all this on, so I'll just get her done and then address any details that occur to me while I'm doing it. Alrighty then. Okay, the reason for running the camera the whole time and not just describing what I did after the fact is because a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I've gotten some feedback that some of these videos are more like in a lecture hall than a shop visit. And I wanted it to be more of a shop visit. So that's why we're doing it this way. Anyhow, I still don't know if this is dead square yet. We'll have to mess with that in a minute. But I wanted you to see the technique. And key to doing stuff like this is the ability to look absolutely directly down between the work and the face of the sander so that you're in charge of that light gap there. And as long as you can manage that, you're going to be able to do stuff like this with a high degree of precision. So hopefully we're within just a few swipes of lapping to get the end of this square, and that is it. So anyway, I'll meet you back at the bench. Okay, back at the bench. Turned out pretty well. You'll notice that the pipes are now, or the stummels, it's hard to see the bottom line, but they're effectively identical in length, functionally so. So the next step is to make sure that this flat plane is in fact exactly perpendicular to the axis of that hole. And it's a tricky business in that it's you can chase it. You'll find yourself almost there, so you then take a little more off the high side, and then whoops, you're almost there, you went a little past it, or back and forth like a teeter-totter. It's hard to get it just right, so you want to get it as good as you can on the first whack. And the best way in this case to judge that, because there's really no instrument that I know of that has a variable diameter rod and then some plane that is perpendicular to it, a tool. Maybe I should invent one and get wealthy, but in the meantime we're just going to take the old stem, which still fits this quite well. In fact, when we use the chucking reamer, it's a tiny bit loose for a finished fit, but it's pretty good, so we know it's going to be accurate. The catch being now that it does not go all the way down to the wood, so we can't really check for being light tight. The reason it doesn't is that, see the counter sinking, there's a 45-degree relief at the edge of that hole to allow for that extra material there at the shoulder where the tenon meets the face of the stem. So we're going to take that out. Now you can do it several ways. You can either get a countersink from a hardware store and mount it in our trusty handheld chuck. These chucks, by the way, you don't have to buy a whole drill to get one and throw the drill away. You can get these things, the small ones, the 3/8" ones, or is it 1/4 inch, whatever, the smaller ones, for just a few dollars. I think it's just like $8 or something, and a slick little key to go with them, and all kinds of stuff. Becomes a hand tool that wasn't designed necessarily to be a hand tool. So the other option is to mount this kind of a thing in a Dremel tool. The catch being there that it's a slow speed operation. If you put this in a dental speed rotary tool, it'll just burn. You'll end up with a scorched black ring on there and no bueno. So I'll show you we'll do the hand method, and I might finish it off with that low speed one. But if you don't have a low speed rotary tool, high torque, low speed, a lot of the stuff I do on pipes would be very difficult to do without that piece of machinery. It's in my mind absolutely essential. They're not inexpensive, but they last for life. So there you go. All right, I'm going to try to do that again. I'm looking through, or looking at the screen of the camera, not the actual work, which is more disconcerting than you would expect if you haven't tried it, but we'll see what we get here. Okay, not too bad. It's a little ragged because it's got only the 3 blades, and if they don't cut an even amount of time, the dwell time is different when you do it the way I was doing it, and you end up with something that's a little bit raggedy but is perfectly functional. But I'm kind of fussy about details, so I'm going to clean it up with the motorized tool here. Okay, not too bad. I think I'll take one more pass here in a minute, but don't need to do it on camera. So that is enough material gone to check whether or not we have light peeking out here. And there you go. We do not. That is a light, tight fit on the first try. These things are, again, that's deceptive. If you just thought, well, it's a no-brainer then, I just saw a guy do it on the first pass. Trust me, getting the end of a shank dead square is an exercise in frustration in the early days. That's something that you can only do with practice. So don't be frustrated is the whole point. If you end up chasing that, keep at it. It's possible to do it with no difficulty with sufficient practice, like playing the piano. You can do that with practice as well, right? So, okay, I'm going to polish the end of this a little bit. We're going to drag it on a piece of, let's see, this is 1000. Yeah, this is some 1000 grit paper. I'm not going to turn the camera for this because it's just getting crazy if chasing it around, but you can hear it in the background. There we go. Alrighty, and then the final step is to take a piece, an envelope. There's some sort of abrasive material that is found in envelopes. I'm not sure if it's the cotton that's in them or exactly what the deal is, but a piece of a ordinary envelope, the kind that you mail letters in, old-fashioned paper letters, put that on a flat surface. And off camera here I'm going to do this, but put this on a dead flat surface and swirl this like so, and it'll polish up more than any other method I've found. Okay then, it's close to being glassy. There's a few little scratches in there from that I have yet to get rid of. I think I'll go back after it with some probably 1500 grit and then polish it one more time, but it wouldn't be any different to hear about or watch being done. It's just repeat what you just saw one more pass with some finer paper and then again a bit of polishing. And then we will be ready to cut the tenon on the new piece of material for the stem and get that all butted up and light tight, and then the shaping begins. So we're off to the races, and I'll see you over at the drill press where I'm going to be cutting the tenon next. Alrighty then.